guys, I want you to know, I love each and every one of you.
Just like your own children.
Yep, my own non-existent. That one's a real fact.
Shh, they are your children.
Come here, my babies.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and S2E12.
Hello, it's me, S2E12, as I'm trying to get everything in order. Woo! What episode is this?
A fun one.
Yes.
The big lore dump episode again.
It doesn't tell me what number. Okay, 32nd. There we go. Now I know what fact I'm on.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we spoilers ahead, because we will be talking about episode 32 of Gravity Falls, or season 2, episode
12. So
I like this episode a lot.
Yes. I saw what the next episode is too. I like that one a lot too.
Every week. Oh, I like the next episode.
I like all of them. Mostly.
I don't have a problem with any of them, but some are more standout than others.
Yes. It's crazy to think about, though. Let's see. Where's the list of episodes? There we go. That's not in order. I wish they told me what. There we go. List. Is that it? Yeah, so let's see, we're here. A Tale of Two Stands. And then 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we got like 5 episodes of just like funny one-y stuff, and then it's just like womp womp. But yeah, I glisten. I'm a little sweaty today. If you're in the audio, you don't have to worry about that. But it is 87 degrees in my apartment, plus all the mugginess. Yeah, as soon as we're done recording this, I'm turning on the AC. I should have left it running last night, but I opened up the window after it stormed. And I'm like, okay, it wasn't after. I opened up my windows while it was storming, or right before. And then I was like, I should close the windows and turn back on the AC. But then every time I walked over to the window, a nice, fresh, cool breath of air just like blew in my face. And it's probably because it was 90 degrees compared to, it was like 20 degrees cooler out there.
Anything that's a breeze was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and so I'm like, maybe I'll just leave the windows open. And then I woke up this morning, and I'm like, this was not intelligent. I should have left it running. But I didn't, and now we're here.
You saved on the electricity bill.
But at
Good
what
news.
cost?
The cost of the electricity bill.
It gets so hot in my apartment, I'm reminded that deodorant can melt.
That's not good.
Yeah, I found that out the first time when I went to a music festival.
Mm.
And then I didn't have deodorant by the middle of it.
Mm. I'm sure the people you went with enjoyed that.
Oh, they shared.
That's good, at least.
And then we went down to the store for like the general things, and they had one in there. So I'm like, cool.
Mm. Nice. Do you have anything other than the fun fact to share with the listeners this week? My brain just completely blanked out.
I got my niece's birthday present.
Oh, nice.
Prime Day.
Was it on sale?
According to what it was written, I'm not looking at the price now because I've heard how they hike up prices.
To tell you it's discounted when it's, yeah.
Yeah, but it was 50% off, and I was already planning on getting one. So, where's the front of this? There it is. It's, one
of those,
yes. So, for audio listeners, it's a bazooka bubble gum. My niece loves bubbles. We it was like maybe the first time she like wanted to actually spend an extended period like one-on-one playing while my brother was cooking her dinner, was playing with bubbles, because we pretended we were like giant Godzilla mech creatures crushing bubbles. She didn't know, but that's what I was pretending. So yeah, and then I told my brother, I'm gonna get one of these bubble guns, and he's like, you don't have to. And so I got it.
Yeah, I saw my sister had them for my nieces and nephews, and the amount of bubbles that come out of those things is very impressive.
Mm-hmm. I also saw a TikTok, I don't know if it's true because I don't have an outside, is that if you get like one of those bubble like machines, it naturally keeps bugs away.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't have any, well, I guess I do have access to the outdoors, but I don't have like a porch or something to sit on to like test this.
Just leave bubbles out all the time without disturbing other people.
Or just inside. So, I don't know. I might, maybe, depending on apartment searches, maybe next home. But time will tell. But did you know Gideon was inspired by a psychic?
No way.
Yeah. All we know for sure is that Gideon is an evil charmer. However, do you know this is the Glorspor, Bedorgador, just talking.
You just sound like Fiddleford when he ended up in the.
Yep. Spoilers. Do you know the child psychic Hirsch's mother saw on television is what made? Okay, so wait, a child psychic. Hold up. Hirsch's mother saw a child psychic on the television, and that's what led him to make this character. So now I'm like, where's the character?
I looked up. I tried to look it up, but I got this.
This is what Hop just sent me. Your psychic child, how to raise an intuitive and spiritual gifted child. Wow, kids of all ages.
It's on Amazon. It's from 2010. That's not as old as I would hope.
Man, if only. Oh man, I was about to say a name and I was like, I don't know if that's the actual actor or the name of the character. Is your child psychic? 7 ways to find out. If only Shelley Dufresne. Hold up.
Who?
Hold up, I'm just making sure. I don't know if I said the actual actress's name. I did, but I said the wrong name. If only Wendy Torrance knew this before she went up to the big old mountain house where Jack Nicholson went crazy.
Oh, you said that. You kind of said the actress's name, Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. I got Shelley Duvall, but I didn't say Wendy Torrance. But I didn't realize they made the sequel, Dr. Sleep, into a movie as well.
I can't keep up with the number of Stephen King movies.
Yeah, all I know about Stephen King movies is that he hates them all. So, there's that fun little thing. I have a shiny behind me. I gotta finish reading that. I got like halfway through it years ago, so in my head I'm like, man, I would like to get more books. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I got this book that I'm still a quarter of the way through.
Mm-hmm.
I got the
for audio listeners.
No, it's a mystery.
Slaughterhouse 5.
Yeah. People that listen to the old style episode would know when I bought that book. There's just like tons of books in here, and I'm like, finish these books, you dummy. Yeah, so Yeah, but if Windy Torrents had these books before whatever it was, before pretty much her husband going nuts. I'm looking at the little Gideon thing to see if there was the inspiration, but it looks like it's just episode stuff. Personality, appearance, relations, abilities. Yeah, there's nothing in here. Alright, well.
So who knows if the fun fact is really a fact?
Yeah, it's probably some interview that Alex Hirsch was on.
And just a passing, like, comment. Mm. But the internet would never lie to us, so it's got to be a fact.
Yeah, I'm on it. There's no way we would lie. Guys, I want you to know, I love each and every one of you.
Just like your own children.
Yep, my own non-existent. That one's a real fact.
Shh, they are your children.
Come here, my babies. Oh, man. I almost made a joke that would not be great, mainly because of the book I just finished, because a character popped in my head, but then I'm like, no, because not everyone read that book. They should. Well, no, not everyone should. It's a good book, though. But there are, I think, Tomorrow probably has some triggering things if you're not ready for it.
Quite a few. There's a lot of various forms of abuse, neglect, and death in the family. So, with caution.
I will say, any of my suggestions for books, probably take with a grain of your own research, because it's like, it won't be until way after where I'm like, that probably has some triggering things in there.
And that's why I use Storygraph. And I have a specific flag on Storygraph. The main thing that I find, I like the horror genre, but I feel like, and thrillers, but I don't read a lot because I find a lot of them use like animal death or animal harm, and not for any reason to forward the story, just like, he tortured animals and this is how he did it. I'm like, no, you could have just not had that and just told me he was a bad person. But on Storygraph, you can flag warnings that you want to at least have pop up. Mm-hmm. So if I look up certain books, it'll have a little like symbol for me, like, danger. People have flagged it with this.
Mm-hmm. It is the complete opposite of how I read books, where I'm like, hey, I heard that title more than twice. Bye. And then I'm like, I didn't know there was this in it. From conversations Hop and I have had, I've said that multiple times.
Well, I was not expecting that. It's like,
I was expecting this. It was in the warnings. There's warnings.
I'm the one that suggested the app for you too, huh?
Yeah, I just use it to like record what I'm reading and what I liked.
That's also fair.
I don't. If anyone wants, because I'm one of those people when there's questions. This really came out a lot when we did the quizzes, the quizzes stuff for when we first started doing the podcast. Mm-hmm. Where I'll read a question and it'll be a very simple question. Is just like, which character do you or like, what kind of cake would you have after dinner? And my brain will overanalyze that question to be like, well, what did I have for dinner? What is the day? What am I like? My brain just naturally goes into like overthinking the whole thing when it's just like, when it's literally just like, out of these options, which one do you want? But I'm like, but which one would I actually have? And so I get stuck on some of the questions a lot where it's like, it's the same questions for every book, because it's like reading a bunch of novels and it's like, are the characters diverse? They're all fish people. So are they?
If there's only fish people.
If they're only fish, like, they're definitely diverse, like they're different than me. But at the same time, they're all fish people. Like, there's not like octopus people. but it says like I don't know, are they diverse where it's like there's some clown like Finding Nemo fish, but then like Shark Week fish, and then it's like I guess they would be different. So yeah, I guess it'd be diverse, but they're still fish. So no, like welcome to how my brain works. It's amazing how I get anything done. Want to roll some dice, but do I want to roll dice? You
always want to roll dice because we are.
Whoa, calling me out. You're right.
I was trying to do a segue because we are tabletop nerds. Payne has a lot of role-playing content on the internet between Call of Cthulhu and various campaigns.
I'm playing Traveler now. That isn't out.
Oh.
That's, as I said, I'm playing it. We're recording it. That's a really fun system.
I was going to offer, check the various information places for links to that.
Right here, Traveler. Big old fun.
And I roll digital dice because my dice are in the basement and I always never feel like picking them up. And it's also fun to show the camera.
I rolled a 6. Gosh dang it!
Nice. I rolled a 5.
Yeah, Hop rolled a 5. I rolled a 6. Okay. Okay, so spoilers for everyone for episode 12 of season 2, A Tale of Two Stans. This episode is the history of Stan. So there we go. That's the whole episode. So what do you think of?
I was gonna joke and say like, remember we've got the time crunch. You got this, and you took care of it very quickly, very easily.
Now let's go back to talking what we really want to: books. All right. So this is kind of a continuation of the episode of previous, where the author comes out of the portal that they set up, and Stan reveals, the author of the books is my brother, and everyone's just like, oh my. And so they've realized, like, pretty much Stan's brother comes out, and he's just like, hey, like, does any, like, you idiot, what are you doing? As, like, Stan's like, pretty much, excuse me. I realized I skipped the beginning part of it. So, which, let me rewind a second. Because the beginning of this episode is that we see the two kids that were on the swings earlier. They're running on a beach, and one, there's one with glasses and one without glasses. I guess one with a big nose. And they're running, and they're just like, what is this? Boarded up walls, and they're just like, oh my goodness. And it's just like, what could be inside? Weird junk. And as the one without glasses is like, ladies first, as they begin to laugh and punch each other. As the one glasses tries to pull the board off the cave, and he's like, oh, I'm weak. As the other one's like, well, you might be smart, but that's right, Mick Punchin. He doesn't say Mick Punchin, he just says Punchin. As he punches a board and punches the board as he kind of looks at his hands, he's like, cool, splinters, as they step in through a perfectly upside down triangle shape.
Triangles everywhere.
Yeah, upside down triangle. Triangles upon triangles upon triangles. And they're like, oh man, this is cool. As they go in, shine their flashlight, and like, man, this is creepy. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? Like, well, we got to put our names in here so everyone knows, like, that we were here first. And they, like, bring out a Sharpie right on the wall. And as they kind of walk off, chanting a word, we see scribed on the wall Stanley and Stanford Pines, as they're like, Pines, Pines, Pines. Then we get the theme song.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, even in that little glimpse, you see how different they are, because Stan Lee writes his name like regular, like choppy handwriting, and Stanford is like really pretty cursive and very deliberate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with that, we're back to where the last episode left off, and pretty much Stan runs up and he's like, you're here, brother, and just like, oh man, obviously very happy to see them as the brother that came out of the. I'm just gonna call him what they call him. I'm not gonna like keep playing around because it's confusing. So Stan is Grunkle Stan, and later he tells to call him Ford, the uncle that came out of the portal.
Sideburn uncle.
Yeah, Sideburn uncle, the smart one, and we'll figure this out. So anyway, Stan runs up to Ford as he's just like, pretty much Ford like is like extremely mad and like is punching him, like attacking Stan. He's just like, Stan's like, what the heck is this for? And he's like, you didn't, this is insanely risky. Didn't you read the portal, the warnings? And Stan's like, warnings, who cares? Like, don't you know I saved you from sci-fi Sideburn dimension? And as far as like, do you think I would thank you after what you did 30 years ago? As they begin to bicker and everything, as Mabel is just like, what's going on here? and so as Ford, I just really like this line. Stan, you didn't tell me there were children down here. And some sort of large, hairless gopher.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, I get that a lot. And so, Stan's like, they're your family, Shermie's grandkids, which I think this is the first time we hear Shermie.
Yeah, I don't know that name's been shared before.
It's not highlighted, so it doesn't have its own Wikipedia article. So anyway, Ford goes over to greet Mabel and Dipper, as Mabel's like, whoa, 6-finger handshake. That's a full finger friendlier than normal. And as Ford's like, as everybody likes Mabel because she's weird, as Dipper begins to hyperventilate that the author of the journals here is Ford is like taken aback. He's like, wait, you read my journals? And Dipper's like, in short, I didn't just read them, I worshipped them. And he pretty much gets to the point where he's about to throw up, and he's like, Mabel's like, they're there, and he's like, nope, false alarm, just gotta write it out. So anyway, the Ford asks Stan, like, okay, Stan, just let me know, is there any security breaches? Does anybody else know about this? And Stan's like, no, nobody, no, just us. And also maybe the entire U.S. government. As Ford's just like, what? As we kind of go outside, as we're looking through like a security camera, Agent Powers, fan out, we're not going anywhere until we find Stan Pines and those kids. And so Ford tells him, hey, we got a little bit of time. And Mabel's like, well, can we find out who the heck y'all are and what happened? And Ford's like, yeah, I would kind of like some explanation myself, Stanley. And Dipper's like, Stanley? As Mabel's like, but your name is Stanford. And Ford is just like, wait, you took my name as well? What have you been doing all this time? And so pretty much a little pushing from all of that. Like, I think Seuss's line is calling out the internet, where he's like, yeah, I hope this aligns exactly with my fanfic stand. If not, I'll be very disappointed. And then that's when Stan goes into his history, where he starts off saying that they lived, was it 1960-something, started in the year 1960-something, Glass Shard Beach, New Jersey.
In the seagull.
Yes. Is it, am I going? Oh yeah, Glass Shard Beach, home of the Glass Shard Water Toffee. As the seagull coughs up a bottle cap. And we find out that they all lived in a family pawn shop that was in the lead paint district.
Good place to raise kids.
Where the description of their family is, Dad was a strict man, tough as a cinder block, and not easily impressed, as his dad, Phil Brick Pines, is sitting there reading the newspaper and just like, I'm not impressed. And Ma, a pathological liar, which served her well as a phone psychic. To where she picks up the phone, Carolyn Pines, that'll be 99 cents an hour. No, you're overpriced. Yeah, I predicted you were going to hang up. So anyway, Stan explains, like, that Ford was his nerdy twin brother, who had a very high IQ, and he also had the rare birth defect of having extra pinkies, the 6 fingers that we see. And he's pretty much like that. Probably is why he was obsessed with sci-fi mystery weirdness. And then he's like, yep. And for me, I have what my mom liked to call personality, as it shows the two, like, pretty much Ford was drawing in a notebook as Stan is running around with a bucket on his head into a wall. And
personality.
Yeah. And so they in short, like, he just says, like, they were super close and they would spend all their time together, where it goes back to where they punch the hole in the wall to go find a wrecked sailboat. And like Ford's like, oh, possibly haunted by pirate ghosts. As Stan's like, this is the greatest thing I've seen. And once I saw a dead rat floating in a bucket. As Ford pushes him and does ask a very important question: what is wrong with you? So anyway, they realize that the boat is missing flags, so they take off their shirts and put it on there as they push the boat towards the sea. And as they're chanting "Kings of New Jersey," as they write on the boat "Stan of War," and they dub the boat "Stan of War" as Ford gets hit in the back of the head with a small rock as they kind of see the town bullies, and wow, they have the name of the bully. I don't think he gets introduced here.
It says that he was introduced during the Dreamscapers flashbacks.
It's probably when
they're just opening the doors in the different.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably a flashback to when it's showing that Stan learns how to box and then punches.
He's one of the kids on the playground.
Mm-hmm. All right. So anyway, Krampelter. The name of it's a big bully with like a blonde bowl haircut, and he's pretty much bullying the, like, kind of just says, loser twins, nice boat, to where he kind of where he's like, listen, dorks, listen good, you're a 6-finger freak, and then like points at Stan, you're just a dumber, sweatier version of him. And pretty much says, you guys will never make friends. And Ford like kind of gets a little bit like takes this to heart, as Stan's like, whatever, don't let this. And they go back and forth, and Stan's like, look, one day we're gonna sail in this ship, we're gonna leave this dumb town, we're hunt for treasure, get all the girls, and be an unstoppable team of adventures. And Ford's like, you mean it? And Stan's like, high 6, and they kind of give high 5, high 6, I guess it would be a high 11. And so but anyway, Stan kind of like talks over this as he's like, hey, if there's one thing, they're right, we really didn't make a lot of friends, but we were close, as like it kind of shows like a little montage of Ford solving a math problem as Stan draws a monster caricature of the school teacher. She hits him with a ruler. Later it shows him sitting on a boat, and then a few years later Ford is, it says a party in here. I thought they were at like prom.
Yeah, it looked like prom to me as well.
Where I guess Ford's date didn't appreciate him, pours drink on him, and then Stan walks over and pours a drink on himself. As so pretty much they all like, Stan was there for his brother, Stan and Ford like thick and thieves, and like it goes even more where like he's like, yeah, I got my more. Stan got like, now gets in trouble a lot, but he's like, when your brother's the smartest kid in school, like, you got a leg up on the competition, where Ford's like helping him out as Ford wins a bunch of science fairs and other competitions, and kind of says, and then one day it's like when everything changed, because they call the Pine twins to the principal office, which is a little bit weird, because when they get there, the secretary is just like, no, just Ford. And Stan's like, okay. which I'm like, well, I don't know, except for just narrative importance, the why you would do that. So anyway, they go in, and the principal is telling the Payne's parents that Ford is like highly intelligent. He makes a perpetual energy machine, and it's like, yeah, with this, we're gonna have like these people from one of those West Coast science schools, West Coast Tech, and that's what it's called. One of the best academies or colleges for science in the country. I think the line is like, graduates turn science fiction into fact. As he's like, your son may be a future millionaire, Mr. Pines. As his dad's like, I'm impressed. And then Carolyn like asks, well, what about Stanley, our little free spirit? And her friend's like, that clown would be lucky if he can graduate high school. And pretty much says, look, he ain't going anywhere. At least you always have a son here in New Jersey forever. As Stan's just like definitely gets frustrated, and as Ford walks out, and Stan's like, joke on them. We're going to finish this day in a war and beaches, babes, and international treasure hunting, right? And Ford's like, hey, I can't give up this opportunity, Stan. Like, it's like, this has cutting-edge programs and multi-dimensional paragram theory. And Stan, I'm pretty sure, like, almost everybody would have been like, yeah, beep, boop, whatever. Like, that's what you sound like. And as Ford pretty much tells Stan, hey, if they're not impressed with what I'm doing, we'll go back to the treasure hunting thing. And Stan's like, well, if they are, and he's like, well, you better come visit me on the other side of the country. And Stan's like, yeah. And then I feel like in some of the books takes things a little bit too seriously as he gets frustrated, walks in the thing, and they make it seem like he broke it on purpose. He never actually touches it. I think he was still looking, like, even though he was mad, like, he hits the table, which kind of jiggles something and breaks the machine, which, like, I don't know. But then as the college board these advisors come in, and they see the perpetual motion. They see that the machine's broken, as Ford had a perpetual motion machine, and they're like, "Hey, that has one job: to not stop." As he's like, "I don't think you're West Coast Tech material." As they cross his name off the list and leave.
One of many names that they've crossed off.
I didn't see the name of the list, so I didn't know if there was like other people on that list that we may have recognized from the show.
I didn't read it.
Yeah, me neither. I'm just like, bye. But I wonder if Fiddleford was on there.
I don't know that he lives in the same area, because he was in California, I believe, when he recruits him to work for him to build the machine.
Yeah, I just didn't. Well, I guess it was the way I was guessing. They like just had a list of like people all over the nation that they were going and visiting. But
I was assuming it was for that particular school.
Yeah, that too. So anyway, Ford is like heartbroken. He's like, wait, as he steps on an empty toffee peanuts bag, which is important because I skipped over it, because Stan is seen eating that brand of snack all over. As Stan is at home, so he's playing paddleball, but I clicked away. There we go. As Ford comes in, and as pretty much Ford can you say why my project's broken? And Stan's like, hey, which is true. It was accidentally. I don't think horsing around would have been the right answer, but he did break by accident, and he was like, this was no accident, Stan. You did this, and rightfully so. Like Ford is like, dude, this could have been good for my future, but instead you did this. And Stan, like I made a mistake, but there's a line with treasure hunting, as like Ford's like, why would I want to do anyone that sabotaged my stuff? And that's all that his dad hears. Like, you did what? And Carolyn comes out with the baby, and Stan's like trying to explain. And as his parents are like, this could have been the only way out of this dump. All you do is lie and cheat and ride on your brother's coattails. And he's like, well, you pretty much cost the family millions, and until you make us a fortune, you're not welcome back in this household. And so Stan's like, telling that he's being crazy, and looks for Ford for support as he kind of closes the curtains on him. I don't know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Sam and Sadie. Sadie, let me in. And just not just don't look outside the window. Let me in.
More tomorrow yes, references okay,
for people. I just finished the book yesterday, so if you have a problem with it, that's on you. And he poops. So Stan, like, he's like, you know what? I don't need this. And then we come back to the present as Mabel's like, that's so sad. You two broken teacups need to hug it out. Hug it out. Hug train's coming to the station. Hugapalooza 2000. And Stan's like, okay, look, shut up. I'm trying to tell my story here. He says it nicer than that. But so pretty much it kind of gives a little bit of history that we already knew about Stan, where it shows that he tried to do treasure hunting, where he's walking around the beach with a metal detector. Realizes that is, I think he says, gold's really hard to find. And apparently gold was some kind of rare metal as he's looking through there. And he comes across a billboard to be a salesperson, to where he makes Stanco Enterprises, where pretty makes the ShamWow, the chamois. And it turns out that it was supposed to like clean up any stains or whatever, but the cheap dye that he put into the rag actually ended up dyeing everything it touched. So he was banned from New Jersey, goes to Pennsylvania, makes the, what is it? Anyway, they all come up to him and he's like, thankfully they bought Stanco brand pitchforks as they were kind of get their money back, and all the pitchforks break. And he's like, suckers. And then he goes to Pennsylvania and makes the rip-offs, and he's like, I won't give you rashes. And he's like, it gave rashes, and that's when he got kicked out of Pennsylvania. And then he kind of goes from state to state, being banned from each state, which explains all the fake IDs, as he needed different IDs for whatever state he was in. And then Dipper asks Ford, like, well, what about, do you ever end up in your dream school? And he's like, well, not exactly, as it kind of cuts to Ford's past as he's in the ceremony for Backupsmore University, to where pretty much he's like, it's like no one's first choice, but what we like in Prestige is mostly bug-free dorms. Sure, your families are proud of you, more or less. So pretty much Ford had to work twice as hard when he's like, but that's what I do, and ended up getting a PhD 3 years ahead of schedule, and then wrote the thesis, which is nationally ranked, and he's like, I got enormous grant money for my own scientific research. And then as he was trying to figure out what he wanted to research, he looked at his hands, and then he was like, he wanted to go look at anomalies, and then that's when he saw on the map and looking at everything, the place that has the most anomalies is Gravity Falls, which I think they said
is in Roadkill County,
Roadkill County, Oregon. Gravity Falls. And then we go back to Stan, who he's like, meanwhile, he was doing great. I've come up with a new sophisticated business strategy, which is lottery cards. And he's still like, yeah, I was in great shape and living. The best part was I didn't need help from nobody, as he kind of tries to call Ford, and when he picks up, he hangs up and walks away. So Ford says, like, I was heading out on my own as well. Used the grant money to build a house, which I I think like in the flashback, it shows a young
Manly Dan.
Yeah, I was like, I can't remember his name. Manly Dan building a house, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna investigate the strange properties. As this giant hand grabs his car into the woods, and he's like, bingo, and he's like, and I began investigating it once, and he's like, and I knew it after record my findings. I began to keep a journal as Dipper.
The journals.
The journals. As everyone kind of snaps back to the present, and he's like, sorry, I got excited about the journals. Keep talking. And Ford's like, I began to keep a journal. I'm just gonna ignore that. And it shows them catching the eye bats and putting them into a jar. We see the birth of the shapeshifter, and then something about floating cliffs, which I don't know if we saw that yet, and then a gnome that looks like Shembulak, and he's like measuring them and getting all this information. Ford's like, fascinating. What did you say your name was? Shembulak Senior.
Not to be confused with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I'm out of water.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Just had to tilt it correctly. So anyway, so he writes pretty much in Journal 3, as he was recording everything that was going on in Gravity Falls that was weird. That's when he decided to call up his old college buddy, Fiddleford McGucket, a young but brilliant mechanic who was wasting his talents with trying to make personal computers in some garage in Palo Alto. Which
very Microsoft.
That is California. As it kind of cuts to McGucket sitting there. Fiddleford's computer majigs. Trying to build a transuniversal polydimensional metavortex? Well, that's mathematically feasible, I reckon. And it shows that he pretty much covers like, hey, I've been pretty much working on this, and answer the source of the town's anomalies. As it shows like, I think they power on the machine they're working on, which is the portal, and like the power surges, and we get all the lights and everything. As we see a mother and child, the child who's on a bike, and then we hear the mother say, "Get out, get out, get out," which is Tyler, cute biker, and his mother as they leave the area. So pretty much Ford, they walk up and they're like, okay, Ford and McGucket go carry a dummy up to the portal to see if it works. And so the dummy begins to float into there, but then the rope that was connected to it got all tangled on McGucket as he flies to the portal, as Ford pulls him back, but before he gets his head stuck inside the portal. Before pulling him back and the portal shutting off, I believe, and Ford's like, dude, are you okay? Like, what is it? Was it working? What did you see? And McGucket's like, war machine engaged Midori, which somehow is
it's linked to Bill Cipher.
Yes.
I don't see how that particular phrase is on that wiki, but maybe it's something else he says at some point.
Yeah, unless I'm wondering if it okay, hold on.
The Bill Cipher wiki is too big for the time we have allotted to us.
I kind of scrolled down right to this section, and I was just scanning it real quickly. It doesn't seem like. I think it was just kind of going on because then it goes forward to say when gravity fall, like McGucket says the lines that are hidden by the black light. He's like, when gravity falls and Earth becomes sky, fear the beast with just one eye. And Ford's like, hey, dude, hold yourself. As McGucket like kind of shakes himself away. He's like, the machine is dangerous. They bring the end of the world and destroys before destroys on. And Ford's like, hey, this is my life work. I can't do this. And so when McGucket says like, I fear we unleashed a great danger. I just as soon forget I quit, which is kind of a reference to the
blind eye.
Yeah, and the memory gun. Where Ford's like, fine, I don't need anybody. Like like pretty much like, I don't need anybody, as he begins to hear whispering around the portal, very Lovecraftian, as he realizes over in his head, losing sanity, and he pretty much goes to call. He's like, I need someone that he could trust, where it cuts to Stan in a motel, as there's a knock at his door, and he's like, hey, Rico, I'll pay your goods back, I swear, as he kind of goes up with a bat, and it's a postcard with Gravity Falls on it, which turns it over and says, please come, Ford. And like that's when it kind of cuts to when it's winter, he's walking up to the house, and he's like, you haven't seen your brother in 10 years. It's like, okay, his family won't bites. He knocks, and Ford throws him the, who is it? Have you come to steal my eyes?
The with crossbow.
Yeah, with a crossbow. And Stan's like, well, can always count on you for a warm welcome. As Ford asks, okay, did anyone follow you? Anyone at all? And Stan is very much annoyed, because he's like, yeah, hey, hello to you too. As like Ford's like sticking a flashlight in his eyes, and just like, it's like, pretty much, he's like, what's
really
going
paranoid.
On? Yeah, he's like, what's going on? He's like, sorry, I had to make sure you weren't, it's nothing. Come in. Which I'm like, as I'm reading this transcript, I'm like, what is that reference saying? Like what would the eyes have to do with it?
I don't know. They don't have any kind of links.
A link to it. And it might be in the actual article thing.
Or the journal itself.
Yeah.
Or something in there.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, Ford is like, look, there isn't much time. I made a whole bunch of mistakes, and I couldn't trust anybody. And it's like, Stan's like, hey, let's figure this out. Just talk this through. And Ford's like, I need to show you something you won't believe. Something you won't believe. And Stan's like, dude, I've been all around the world. Whatever it is, I'm pretty sure I'll understand. And cuts to them standing in the portal. There's nothing about this I understand. And that's when Ford announces the Trans-Universal Gateway, a portal. And he's like, he punched a hole into the weak spot of our dimension. And pretty much it was supposed to unlock the mysteries of the universe. But it could also destroy the universe. And he's like, that. So he's like, I wrote everything down in my journals. I hid the other two. All that's left is this one. And he's like, look, remember our plan to sail around the world in the boat? And Stan's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, get in that boat, take the book, sail as far as you can to the edge of the earth. It's like, bury it where no one can find it. And Stan's like, wait, that's it? You want to see me finally after 10 years, and you just want me to get as far as away from you? As Ford, it's like, dude, you don't understand what I've been through. Once again, a whole bunch of people not fully communicating, which is a staple in a lot of stories, where Stan's like, I got a mullet. And
I'm not doing well.
Yeah. So anyway, Stan pretty much, like, they begin to argue everything, like who's selfish, who isn't selfish, and it always goes back to how he wasn't able to get into his dream school. And Stan's like, you know what? If you want me to get rid of this book, I'll get it right now. As he pulls out a lighter, and Ford's like, wait, no, you don't understand. Like, and they begin to fight a little bit. Well, not a little bit. They definitely start wrestling, where it turns on the machine. As Stan's like, dude, if you want this book back, you have to try harder than that. As the portal starts to turn on. As Stan's like, yeah, you left me behind. Like, I'm supposed to be best forever. You ruined my life. As Ford, and like, dude, you ruined your own life. As he kicks them, and he burns. His back hits the part of the machine that's always says, caution, extremely hot. That burns, brands him in the back, which is a reference to later, as we see. There's like parts where we kind of see it looks like a tattoo, but it's actually just this burn mark from this part of the machine that gets super, super hot. Ford just like immediately regrets, like it's like they don't actually want to hurt each other. But Ford's just like, Stanley, oh my goodness, are you okay? Where at this point, Stan is just kind of angry, as he kind of shoves him, like Stan like is, wow, okay, brain catch back up. So there we go. Stan punches forward, which hits the lever, which we know that turns on the machine or activates it. And then Stan's like, dude, some brother you turned out to be. He's like, I don't care what happened to your dumb mysteries. You can have them. As Ford begins to get sucked into the portal, and Stan's like, what's going on? And Ford's like, dude, Stanley, help me. Definitely concerned. And the last lines that we hear Ford say before being shoved into the portal and he throws the journal 1 back at Stan, and he says, Stanley, do something. Stanley yelling. I would yell, but it's an apartment, and I'm not ready to yell with a whole bunch of people or into Hop's ears. Mainly Hop's ears.
Thank you.
No. So a flash of light engulfs, and it's just Stan left there with the journal, as Stan immediately regrets everything he said, as the portal shuts off, and everything he does he can't turn it back on. And the only clue that he has in journal 1, which says it's continuing journal 2, and he doesn't know what to do, because he's he realizes he isn't smart enough, and he's I ran out of food, so I had no choice to go down. Where he walks into Dusk to Dawn, which is early reference. We see a lot of old characters here, where we see Ma and Pa there. We see Susan before she becomes Lazy Susan. Where they're like, you're that mysterious science guy that lives in the woods, as everyone kind of gathers around him. Where we see Daryl Blubbs, which is
deputy
sheriff.
Sheriff
Blubbs. I'm trying to remember everyone. I don't have they're pretty much, it's we see the teens that kill Ma and Pa by their shenanigans.
We see Ma and Pa before they're dead.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a handful of other people there that I don't have it doesn't say here, but I'm pretty sure it'll say on the wiki page of who's in that scene. But pretty much there's a whole bunch of characters that we see as they're like, man, it's they're like, do you give tours? Because they're all like, dude, you're the mysterious person, mirrors, lights, and spooky experiments. And Stan's like, I don't really give tours, as everyone's just oh, and he's like, yes I do, for $15 a person. And they all hold up money, and he's just his eyes go wide. He's
he finally found it.
Yes, he finally found his niche. So anyway, he goes through all of that, and it cuts to the first ever experiment. He's like, look at this nerdy science box, as it kind of shoots the lightning up, and it burns Susan's eye, and it just kind of droops, and he's like, I can assure you there's no way that is permanent. As they're all like, we paid $15 for this? As Stan and then grabs a skeleton and puts some clothing. He's like, you're lucky you weren't part of the last tour group, huh? And everyone's like, oh yeah. And he's like, they never made it out alive. So the crowd's just like, yeah.
They eat it up, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, that's funny. And so it shows him slowly fixing up the house, which originally was called the Murder Hut, that was renamed the Mystery Shack. And he's like, I found something I was good at, lying and cheating, which paid off. He's like, since the old me was dead, I faked a car crash to prove it. So he's like, by day I was Stanford Pines, Mr. Mystery, but at night I was down in the basement trying to bring the real Stanford back. And he's like, and I couldn't risk. And it kind of comes back to the present. He's like, I couldn't risk anyone learning about the truth, sabotaging my mission, so I lied to everyone, my town, my family, your parents, even you kids. And so that's when Dipper's like, you were just trying to save, your brother. And so I didn't believe me. He's like, I wouldn't believe myself either. As we hear an agent's like, I heard talking, that they're coming from downstairs. And Sue's like, I was so spellbound by the dramatic tale, I forgot all about those dudes. And so they're all trying to figure out, that's when Susan's saying that, and Differ's like, wait, forget. And that's when he's like, brings out the memory erasing gun, and Stanford's like, I don't know how you have this, but this is perfect, and kind of plugs it into the machine. And he's like, okay, everyone, plug your ears and get down, as it kind of goes outside to to where we see Agent Trigger and Powers like, it looks like they're hiding behind this vending machine. He's like, let's go in there. He's like, Powers like, I've been practicing sounding excited, of making sounds of excitement for this very occasion. Do you hear that? And then, like, out of the totem pole, this blue shockwave goes through as everyone's just like, where am I? And why am I at this goofy fun knick-knack house? As Ford comes out, and he's like, ladies and tell from Washington, as he flips through pieces of paper that are just Mabel's drawings. Pretty much sounds like, according to this very real report, the power surges and gravity falls were due to radiation from an unprotected meteor shower. A total embarrassment for your whole department. Luckily, I'm here to take this mess off your hands, but I need your floppy disks and 8 tracks. Right? And Bauer's like, we got everything contained on this drive. And he's like, well, thanks. Get out of here.
He's like, what are you waiting for? A kiss on the cheek.
Yeah. Get out of here before your butt's court-martialed. Bauer's like, apologies, sir. False alarm, everybody. And all the government leaves. They run. And Mabel is just like, whoa. And runs out. Mabel and Dipper around. He's like, oh my goodness, great Uncle Stanford. That was amazing. And Stan's like, okay, that was not crazy. It was serviceable. And that's when Stanford tells him to call them Ford. And Dipper, like, starts clicking the pen like crazy. Like, yeah, I have a couple billion questions to ask you about Gravity Falls. And Ford's just like, I don't know. And Stan's like, okay, look, you want to ask him a bunch of stuff? You hit the hay. And Dipper's like, but the author, and Stan, like, firmly, like, go hit the hay. And Sue's just like, I'll see myself out. As we hear off screen, Wendy, I have something amazing to tell you. Clear the next 14 hours. So it's later at night. Things are a little bit cleaned up. As it shows Stan and Ford, like, kind of looking at themselves in the mirrors, like, when did we become old men? You look like Dad. And Stan's just like, don't say that. And so then they kind of set the ground rules is like Ford tells Stan, like, look, you can stay here for the summer to watch the kids. I'll stay down in the basement and contain any remaining damage. But when the summer's over, everyone's out. I want you to give me my name back, the Mystery Shack. This Mystery Shack junk is over forever. You got it? And Stan's like, you aren't going to thank me? And he's like, you know what? Fine. You just stay away from the kids. I don't want them in danger. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're the only family I have left. And so they kind of split up. As it shows Mabel and Dipper, like, kind of just like reflecting of the story, and are just like, do you think Dipper's like, I don't know if this is good or bad. I want to meet the author, because they're just like, man, as the Mabel was listening, it's like, I think I heard Uncle Ford said they're gonna buy his puppies made of ice cream. That might just be me wishful thinking, though. And Mabel's like, I don't know, kind of like the way things were before, when it's just us and Stan and an occasional goblin monster. His Dipper's like, nah, I think things will work out. So when Mabel asked, do you think we'll ever turn out like Stan and Ford? And Dipper was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, they used to be best friends, but then they got all stupid. And he's like, can you promise me you won't get stupid? And Dipper's like, not stupider than you, dum-dum. And they all like, haha, laugh, as like Mabel kind of nervously kind of just looks like into the void. As the episode ends, and it shows Wendy sitting up at her bed on her phone at 3 o'clock in the morning with Seuss, just like, so it turns out the second Stan, the Stan that we know, is actually Stanley, but the first Stan was Stanford, but we didn't know until Stanford came out of the portal, which was built by Stanford, but then Stanley pretended to be Stanford. He did the portal because he's Stan, but he's not Stan. As Wendy's just like, Seuss, it's 3 a.m. It's like, okay, I understand. Anyway, Act 2. Stan started as Wendy's like, as she goes back to bed. And that is, Yep.
That is the episode. And given the time, usually we go through Revelations, but I think we covered all of them as I'm going through this list. The only thing is they say that Ford and Stan have a brother named Shermie, who is their Dipper and Mabel's grandfather. But yeah, most of all of this is basically what we've talked about throughout the episode, just in a little bit better detail. Mm-hmm. So then, I guess, I know you've been talking for a while, but who is your favorite character this episode?
Gideon.
So nobody got it.
Favorite character. So let's just run through it real quick. We have Ford, who is the life ruined by his brothers. Just not.
He never saw himself get fully fulfilled, so he's holding a grudge.
Stan, who's trying to do everything he can, like, in his weird way to make sure the kids are safe, and, like, he's just trying to, like, bring his family back together at, like, the cost of himself, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
We have Dipper, who is totally fangirling over the fact that the author's here. We have Mabel, who is concerned, like, having a moment of clarity of, like, that's really close to, because this has been hinted before, like I think literally in the episode before, when Stan's just like, I don't understand how two siblings can be so friendly towards each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a theme that's coming up recently. Seuss, who's just kind of Seuss, and Wendy, who is unfortunately caught in Seuss. And then
a lot of side characters.
Yeah. Which one did you ask me? Favorite. Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Favorite.
Yeah, favorite. The easier of the two.
Yeah. I don't know. In this episode, I do like Ford because it's interesting to, like, hear the background of. But I don't think he's my favorite because, like, I don't like his character, but I like his story.
Okay.
You know what? I think because there's not real. This isn't like a funny episode. Like, they definitely have things where it's like there's funny characters. So I think the character that I like the most or favorite in this one probably would be Stan, Grunkle Stan,
okay.
Because, like, this whole time we always hear Grunkle Stan just being a liar and cheat, and then, like, we kind of get the background for that. But I like how we see there's a purpose behind what he's doing.
Yeah, he's a lot more grounded.
Yeah.
And, like, everything that he's been doing up to this point, we're like, why would he go through all this trouble? Now we're like, oh,
yeah, this
is why.
Yeah, he's much more focused on family than like it's up to this point. It's always like, I want money, and then it's like in season 2, it's like, well, there's obviously something else that's going on here, and it's like
he needed the money too.
Yeah, to do this, like, to survive. And, like, he always liked money, but it's just like, no, money was a secondary. Even when he was younger, he's like, I just want to be with my brother and, like, and with his family, even though his dad probably didn't care much for him.
His dad literally said, you're not allowed in this house again until you're filthy rich.
Yep. How about you?
All right, I'm going to put Fiddleford. Because just the idea of him being this, I don't know, I think his story of him being like this genius, and we get more glimpses of how smart he was and how important he was to Gravity Falls to see what he is now. It's kind of fun for me to see that whole background of him.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
my brain,
that should be mathematically feasible. Yeah. Hopefully.
You said Fiddleford, and my head thought Ford. And I'm like, what?
McGucket.
Yes.
So then you kind of laid out what each character is doing this episode. So can you think of who you're most like?
Yeah,
it's kind of tough. You really only have Stan or Ford.
Well, or like, I don't see myself as Seuss, who's just like, I gotta spill the tea.
Okay, yeah. So Seuss is a gossip. Dipper is fangirling.
Yeah.
Mabel's having her moment of clarity.
And I feel like I've had the Mabel moment of clarity a while ago.
You did tell the story about people dating in your big group project and how that turned out.
Yeah.
And you were like,
Yeah. Was that on air or was that before? I can't remember.
Before.
Okay. Yeah. One of these days we'll have our pre-band show. But anyway, I think we'll just have to put Grunkle Stan again because, like, after the passing of my mom, that was one of the things that I actively, whether I did it well or not, was to make sure that at least the brothers and the at least the family stayed together. And then once certain people in the family decided to do their own thing, which was what I'm about to say next, it will be very obvious. I tried to make sure at least the brothers all stayed connected, and I think they wanted that as well. So I don't know. I feel like not that it's the same way as Uncle Stan, but I know there's like I'm purposely trying to stay in this area to help my brother and my niece if they need it. So it's just like
very family oriented.
Mm-hmm. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I did pursue a life of science and that, but I don't think I'm nearly as obsessive as I don't think I'm as obsessive and like let it impact me in the way that Ford did. I think if I was in college, then I'd relate to Ford more because of me being like I need to do this, or this is my only ticket out, this is my only option. But nowadays I don't feel like that so much anymore. I do fangirl. No, I guess I don't fangirl in the way that Dipper does. I talk about it afterwards as if I do, but I'm not at the same degree. I think oddly enough, at the age I am, I feel like I'm more like Mabel, where people are like describing things about themselves and I'm like, me next? Is that me?
No, please.
So I think I'm gonna put Mabel. I do love spilling the tea on certain things like Seuss, but I'm not of the degree for poor Wendy where Wendy's just like, please, let me go.
Yeah, we had moments when you spilled the tea on the show. That's how I found out that celebrities eat each other.
I don't know if he ever got convicted, so allegedly. There you go. That's the
In my book, he ate them. My headcanon. No. I was thinking about that this week or last week. I'm like, we haven't had like Hop celebrity news update.
I've not been too much into the celebrity news. The media algorithms haven't brought me back to there in a while. But I will say that thank you all for watching. Haha, smooth.
Yeah, I thought it was coming. It felt like there was a quick pause like, can I think of something? Bye!
Yeah, I'm hungry. I got places to be.
Hi.
And I appreciate you guys for listening this far. If you have, do the things to let us know that you enjoy the show. Rate, review, share, like, subscribe.
Dance.
And then tell us how you did on Twitter.
Or in the YouTube comments.
Or
with a 5-star review on iTunes.
Or Amazon. Or... you can subscribe on Spotify, right? Or like...
I think so.
Follow?
I don't know how it works. I don't know how any of this stuff works personally. I don't know how rating... I probably should, but I don't. So, thank you everybody for doing the things. You know what I haven't checked in a while is how many...
I was gonna say
if we hit all 50 states, we have 20 Spotify followers. Hey, thanks.
Thank you. I was gonna make a joke that you haven't checked my webcam.
You're right. Thanks for calling me out. But let's see how long, so that way I can get a gif of Hop. Just all right. Any poops. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.